Welcome to the Work From Home Milspo Movement podcast, a place where we are meeting military spouses where they're at and providing real solutions to military spouse employment. My name is Lauren Lomsdale, and I am a 16-year Marine Corps spouse, and I'm the owner of a creative marketing firm or digital consulting, and the instructor behind the Work From Home Milspo Movement courses, where I teach military spouses skills to become virtual marketing assistants. I'm here to provide insight on creating and growing your work from home career, either as a military spouse virtual marketing assistant, an entrepreneur, or a remote employee. Join us as we create a movement towards better solutions for military spouse employment, combat financial insecurities for military families, and work to increase service member retention by helping increase the betterment of military spouse and military family mental health. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Lauren Lomsdale. I am the Work From Home Milspo, and I am so excited for this episode today. I have been waiting to do this. In fact, I told one of my VAs last fall, I was like, I'm going to ask Michelle to do a podcast with me. And it's February now at the recording of this episode. I'm finally sitting down with Michelle Penczak, the CEO and founder of Squared Away. And I am so thrilled for this episode because I know all of the students of the Work From Home Milspo and anyone who's interested in becoming a VA and listening to our podcast, and military spouses kind of just in general are so interested to learn what life is like as a VA, as a marketing assistant, and what this can mean for you as a military spouse looking for that flexible, PCS-friendly career. So Michelle, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I feel like we've been, kind of circling each other for a bit, but I'm so excited to join.
Yes, yeah, I'm so excited to have you. Like Michelle mentioned, we've kind of been in the same circle for a while. We're both Marine Corps spouses and, just kind of known who each other are. And so I'm excited to finally sit down and chat with you. Squared Away, I've been following for a very long time because you guys have been around for a bit now and doing the things that I do on a daily basis with my own marketing firm. And so it's so wonderful. And I'm on your newsletter and I see all the stats and the success. And you've done some really amazing things, not only for yourself as a business owner, but also for military spouses around the world. So I'm thrilled to talk to you. And I think this is going to be so valuable for our listeners. So I'd like to start off with you just telling us a little bit about you, who you are, your military kind of background, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for having me. I'm so
Yeah.
excited to chat with you.
Yeah.
My background is kind of like all the military spouses, right? We
Mhm.
come into it with very whimsical and very
Mhm.
excited to be a military spouse and,
Right.
build our community. And we're like, cool. When do I work?
Right.
How can I do that? And
How does that
I'm
work?
yeah, exactly. Um, my experience was very much that our first major duty station was Jacksonville, North Carolina, and
Mhm.
I grew up about 45 minutes down the road, so
Oh,
I
okay.
I went into it super excited because I was like, "Yes,
Mhm.
I'm back in my neck of the woods. I can
Nice.
100%
Yeah.
find a job." And like everybody else, they were like, "You're only going to be here temporarily."
Yeah.
Um, 3 years is not temporary in my opinion, but to each their own. So, I kinda got a little bit ticked off because,
Mhm.
and this was 2013, so remote before remote was cool.
Mhm. Mhm.
So everybody was like, "Oh my god, like, you're looking at remote work? What is that? How are you able to
Yeah.
do it?"
Nobody even knew
Um,
what it was. Yeah.
nobody knew what was coming.
Yeah. Right.
So I started working for Zirtual, the original, when Marin
Okay.
was still the owner, and she taught me a lot
Mhm.
about venture capital and different clients because I worked for a lobbyist in DC as a personal assistant before
Okay.
in my unmarried life.
Uh,
And so I was in a different neck of the woods. I was learning how to work remotely. And through all of this, my husband went through his first deployment to Afghanistan.
yeah.
And it was a 10-month long deployment. It kept getting
Yeah.
extended. So that was amazing.
Yeah.
And but it worked because I was free for homecoming. I was free
Uh-huh.
whenever he wanted to call me,
Yeah.
pre-kid, all that stuff. So it was really, I was like, oh my gosh, why is everybody else not doing this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he came home. He went immediately back out on his second deployment because Marine Corps. And
Yeah.
at that point, I was pregnant with our first little boy.
Okay.
In true Marine Corps fashion, 3 weeks after he left, I got an email saying that the company was bankrupt.
Oh no.
So, all the rule of threes, the deployment gnome
Right.
got me all three times at once. And I was like, what the hell do I do now?
Uh-huh.
And we got the okay to take our clients. So took all my clients with me,
Oh, good.
added on a few more. And
Yeah.
when Sawyer came around in January, I was putting up my out of office email and literally giving like the hold on a second to the
Yeah.
anesthesiologist so that I could like
Let me finish this
I got
email.
I gotta finish this email and put up my out of office. And then I took 2 weeks off to become a new mom,
Wow.
which is the worst possible thing you can do in life. Highly do not recommend in any
Yeah.
capacity.
Sounds like a good idea, but yeah.
Sounds like a good idea in theory, and
Yeah.
in operation, it does not work.
No, absolutely.
So by the time I figured out the whole mom work from home piece,
Mhm.
we got orders to Hawaii.
Oh,
And
and that's a big move.
I cried in the closet for a solid hour. And I was like, oh my God, that's 6 time zones away. How the heck do I do this?
Yeah. Yeah.
I got ticked off and said, I'm not going to let time zones beat me. Um,
Hmm.
moved to Hawaii, took several client calls from the bathroom of the ends of the core in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Everybody's shaking their head like, yep, 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 I've done
Yeah.
that.
Yes. It's 6 a.m. here in Japan. Yes, I totally
Oh
get
Lord.
it. Yeah.
Looking back, I'm like, what is wrong with me? But it worked.
Yeah.
I worked it from 3 a.m. to noon every day in Hawaii. I
Oh, oh
had
my gosh.
all afternoon
Hmm.
with my kiddo and
Hmm.
fully sponsored by everything caffeine related at that point. But it worked.
Yeah.
And I think I told my husband every single day, I was like, I'm gonna die of sleep deprivation.
Hmm. Especially
And
with a baby too. Oh my gosh.
I know I've got to screw loose somewhere. We haven't figured out exactly where yet, but we're working on it. But then 6 months in, one of my clients, he's actually my co-founder now. He was
Hmm.
like, I need you to clone yourself because my company's growing. I need you to grow. I was
Mm.
like, oh my gosh, like, how do I do that? I have a
Yeah.
1-year-old. I'm in Hawaii. You're in San
Yeah.
Francisco. And one of my girlfriends at the time, who was actually one of our first 10 assistants,
Oh, wow.
she was literally at the very beginning of her journey. Nobody wanted to hire her.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I was like, I know you think I'm crazy, but this is
Let's
what I'm
try.
going to do.
Yeah.
And she was like, absolutely, I'll come work with you. And
Wow.
that's kind of how Squared Away started, was just a lot of drive and, we want to make it happen and we want to work. And
Yeah.
as soon as we started fully focusing on military spouses in the beginning, we've
Uh-huh.
obviously expanded now, but
Right.
everybody got behind us. It was
Yeah.
so awesome to be able to say, hey, by the way, I'm building this company and I'm doing it with military spouses in mind.
Yeah.
Our unemployment rate as a group was 28% at that point.
Yeah. Wow.
And now it's 21, hasn't gone down
Yeah.
much.
Right.
And so that's kind of how we grew. Like people just love what we were doing.
Yeah.
And hard to believe it's been 7 years since
Yeah.
we launched.
That's crazy. And tell me, so I know because I follow your emails, but tell everyone else your most recent stats of your your revenue thus far, because my mind was like, I immediately opened your email and I was like, James, who's my husband, I was like, oh my God, you're never gonna believe this. I've been following her
Oh,
since the beginning. You're never gonna believe this, but
yeah, I think that email might be about 6 months old, but
yeah, it is.
oh,
It's a little bit,
it's
yeah,
old. It's gotten better.
yeah.
Um, But about 6 months ago, we looked at our revenue from the beginning, and we have paid out over $26 million to military spouses over the past 6.5 years. So,
That's in 6.5 years. That's not that long, you know? I mean, in the span of a business lifehood, right? That's
wow.
not that long. Like, that's insane. I'm
Oh, yeah. I told my
so
husband, and he was like, "So what happened to, like, you would be good if you hired, like, 30 people?" And I'm like, "Well,
right?
um, we
Yeah.
had traction." So,
Yeah, right. I'm sure
it
he's not too upset by
no,
it.
he's like he's my assistant manager is what he says.
Yeah, right? He's $0 an hour.
Yeah, exactly. My most
Yeah.
exclusive employee.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But I mean, it's wild because every single time I'm like, why the hell am I going through this? Like, why am I
Mhm, mhm.
putting myself through, like, because trust me, even after 7 years, there's challenges and they're
Oh,
not.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? Like, I don't have to do
Mhm,
this. Like, but then it's like the universe knows. And
mhm. Oh,
one of
yeah.
my assistants will always reach out and say, "Hey, I got to tell you a story." And then
Yeah.
they'll tell me their story. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing this forever now.
Yeah, yeah, right? Yes. Oh my gosh. I love hearing this because I feel like so many spouses, if so I started out as a virtual assistant. I don't have a background in marketing. This is not where I thought I would be. I was a teacher before this. And I think those military spouses that kind of have that entrepreneurial drive, because that's the other side of what I love. I teach military spouses these skills, but I'm also a business owner and I love the entrepreneurial side. I think so many spouses can learn from this, not only if you are interested in being a VA with an agency or eventually freelancing, but owning your own business is like one of the most freeing situations as a military spouse. I mean, the fact that like my kids have been homesick all week this week, I didn't have to ask for PTO. I didn't have to take time off work. There wasn't an internal resentment of the fact that I'm home and he gets to go to work and doesn't have to take time off. And there was none of that. So I just want to put that out there. That's not what we're
Oh,
here to talk about, but
it
like
is
that is like
really,
part of my
it is truly one of the greatest things. I mean, we launched Squared Away when I had an almost 2-year-old. We started when
Mhm, mhm.
just over one, and he's turned 9, and I've been able to be at every major event that he's had.
Right.
I've been able to go with him to the doctor and not have to
Mhm, mhm.
worry, and
Right.
I popped Jameson out 5 years ago in Hawaii in the middle of our stage, and
Yeah.
I was able to, be there and not feel
Mhm.
bad, and if I
Yeah.
wanted to check emails because 'cause I'm a weirdo at, 1 week postpartum, I did
Yeah.
it. Like,
Yeah.
it was just amazing to have that freedom and not have to worry.
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of that, although, you and I just now were talking about being business owners, that is the same sort of freedom you get as being a freelance virtual assistant or, working for an agency. You still can work from home. You still can have your kids at home when they're sick or whatever, starting your family. As
Yeah.
long as what I tell my students anyways, and I'm not sure if it's the same for your agency, but I don't care when you work, how you work, where you work, as long as the task gets done. And most clients are the same way. As long as you're getting your things done on the timeline that's supposed to be done, that's all that that's really the bulk of what you're doing, and doing it well, obviously. So I think the flexibility that being a contractor in this field is so amazing. So
I agree.
yeah, yeah, I totally get it. Okay, so we talked about, you getting squared away started, but before, and you talked a little bit before about what your career background was, but tell me a little more about what you did before you kind of started squared away. I know you said venture capital, so kind of talk a
Yeah,
little.
so when I was a VA, I supported some of the wildest clients. I mean,
Hmm.
I had a background in working in government and politics, and then
Okay.
one of my first clients was a venture capitalist in San
Uh-huh.
Francisco. And I was like, holy crap, you guys speak Chinese. Like, I don't understand this language. What is this
Yeah.
seed A, B, F? Like, what is all of this?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I started working with Shane, and he was going through a fundraising round as a founder of a startup. And
Uh-huh.
I was like, holy crap, you are doing a round, which is basically a full-time job on
Yeah.
top of your company.
Right.
And I was like, this is the most chaotic, crazy thing I've ever seen in my life. And you are so unorganized. And we're going to figure out like the next round that you raise, we're going to make a process for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So me and him created a process for how a deal flow is going to work when
Uh-huh.
you're raising a round.
Yeah.
And so that's been really helpful. So that is a whole different beast when you're supporting
Yeah.
those folks. But it's really cool because not only are you getting in there with the VC companies and the PE
Mhm.
companies, but
Mhm.
you're also working with founders of startups who
Yeah.
who are essentially these business owners that are like, okay, I know I have no money. I
Yeah.
can't hire a full-time employee, but I need help
Yeah.
because I'm doing 50 different jobs myself.
Right. Yeah.
So kind of figuring out where those people work has been interesting because
Yeah.
as a business owner, most people are type A's and they don't like to give things
Yes.
away.
Oh my gosh. Isn't that the truth? Oh my gosh.
Oh man. I feel like half
Yeah.
my job is teaching people how to delegate.
I know, right? Yes. Oh my gosh, I totally agree. Now that kind of sparked a question in my mind. Do you find that most of your clients coming into Squared Away, and this is just pure curiosity, are in that space of being either solo entrepreneurs or very new business owners where they're just kind of getting started? Or do you find that a lot of them are more established and they're just kind of trying to expand their delegation?
We have a very wide range of
Okay.
those clients. Some of the ones that we're working with are bigger Fortune 500 companies, but we're in
Mhm.
like one department of their
Right.
company right now. Um, but a lot of times it is, business owners who are like, hey, I want to spend time with my grandkids. I want to spend
Yeah.
time. They're getting older, and
Mhm.
I actually like my business, but I don't want to work in it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're reframing their mindset on how
Mhm.
they operate.
Right.
So, and then of course you have the frazzled brand new business owners who are figuring it all out. So
Figuring it all out. Oh, yes. Been there.
we
Big
got
time.
everybody.
That's awesome. No, that's great. I think that really gives a wide range of what people are looking for in terms of work and or hoping to work in, and different niches of clients is always really interesting. You have clients come in that are ones in an education space and ones in a government space, and you've got to kind of like, you know, compartmentalize your brain to be like, okay, it's different things, but then you start to see that all coming together and be like, oh, some of this is like kind of similar, the workflows, the automations, all those things. So yeah, super interesting. Okay, so we kind of talked about why you started Squared Away, where you are and the journey of starting Squared Away and to where you are now, which is unbelievably amazing. Tell me, if you can, about how many clients you guys currently serve and about how many VAs you guys have on your team.
So right now we have just shy of 450 assistants, and
Okay. Wow.
we have our client numbers change every day.
Oh, I
I
know.
think
Yeah.
we are around 1,800 clients
Okay. Wow.
at companies, but then we have like individual clients within
Right.
it.
Of course. Yeah. Okay. So that's plenty of work for each of your assistants if you're talking about ratio wise, right?
Oh
More than
yeah, we
more than
are.
enough.
And it's very interesting. People are always like, okay, well, I want to know how many clients I can work with at Squared Away. You can work
Yeah.
with as many clients as you want to. It's
Yeah.
totally, I don't recommend going over four because people,
Hmm.
once our assistants start working with new clients,
Hmm.
they always grow with them.
Of
So
course. Yeah.
always they start small and then they scale up.
Yeah.
Rarely do we have a client who comes in and is like, I want a full-time
Yeah.
assistant and then use 10 hours. Like
Yeah.
that.
Right. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's really interesting because essentially our assistants come down to about an average of 2 to 3
Yeah.
as
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, no, that completely makes sense. And I agree with you. It's really hard to keep track of who's doing what and what's going on when you've got multiple clients. Um, and then in terms of, let's see here. So when you have clients come in or when you have virtual assistants come in, what does that process kind of look like when you're matching them with a VA? What do you kind of look for to match the two together?
So, what we really look for is number one, clients always ask for their unicorn. Like
Hmm.
we ask the question, in a perfect world,
Hmm.
what does your assistant look like? I don't care if they have purple hair and blue
Yeah.
eyebrows.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want? And sometimes they know, sometimes they don't.
Hmm.
But most of the time, we're looking for someone who's extremely proactive, is who we want
Hmm.
the VC.
Yeah.
Um, so there's different skill sets for basically each business owner.
Sure.
For instance, if we have somebody who's in the fashion industry, we want someone with a little bit of a creative background.
Uh-huh.
Um, so it just kind of depends. A lot of
Yeah.
it is based around their experience with us and what we've seen from them previously.
Hmm. Hmm.
Everything is based around our four pillars. So extreme attention to detail, which
Hmm.
every VA should have.
Yes.
There is
Yeah,
a
for
tool to
sure.
make sure you are out there somewhere and it's all
Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
Um, Grammarly is free.
Uh-huh.
Please use
Right.
it.
Please use,
Extreme
yeah.
attention to detail, the ability to think outside the box, which I think
Hmm.
is one of the most crucial pieces of being a
Right.
VA. Google doesn't have all the answers. You've got
Right.
to figure out a different avenue.
Yeah.
Um, and then over communication. You're in a
Yeah.
remote capacity. You
Yeah.
can't see somebody is frazzled or their kid is
Yeah.
running around behind a
Hmm.
computer
Hmm.
and they're being short with you on Slack.
Yeah.
So you have to say, are you having an okay day? That kind of
Yeah.
thing. Gauge their
Sure.
time. And then let them know what's going on with you. Hey, I'm
Hmm.
going to the grocery store. I'll be back in an hour and
Yes. Uh-huh.
I'll work on it for you then. I used to have
Yeah.
a client who he just knew when I was going to the grocery store. Um, and just having that open communication and a feedback loop. So
Hmm.
don't take it personally if they criticize your work.
Right. Right.
Feedback is a gift,
You're
either
right.
whether it's harsh or kind, it's always a gift. And,
Hmm.
just being able to implement that and move forward with them.
Yeah.
And then being a team player.
Hmm.
The entire role of a VA is to take care of your client, no matter what
Right.
that's like.
Hmm.
Obviously, keep it legal, but take care of your clients. Like
Yeah.
consider them one of your people. And if you're
Sure.
doing that, then you're going to do the best work. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we have some assistants who are better than others with certain
Hmm.
things.
Yeah.
So learning their personalities has been really helpful in our matching process.
Yeah. Yeah, that completely makes sense. I think I worked for a VA agency in 2021. And one of the things that I had to do when applying was take an Enneagram test. And
Mhm.
I was like, oh, that's so interesting. I've never really had to do that before. And it honestly was so helpful. One, I learned a lot about myself. Two, I think it helps the agency kind of learn, or it helped them learn, my personality type, what drives me, what, innately is something that's part of my personality. And it helped them match clients to me because they knew, okay, she's an Enneagram 3, she's, whatever personality traits. So,
Right.
and I think that really helps. So
Yeah,
completely makes sense.
we do a lot of task-based projects, like
Hmm.
um, scenarios. So we'll give
Yeah.
scenarios to our assistants in the application process, and that's something
Hmm.
that we actually come back to because
Okay. Yeah.
want questions in the application, but if you can do it, then we
Hmm.
know you have all the four pillars and we can match you with certain clients.
Right, right, exactly. Okay, so when military spouses are thinking, or anybody, but specifically military spouses are looking to become VAs, what advice do you have for them in terms of the skills that they should be learning or focusing on and the hiring process in general?
Oh, skills. But just going back to our pillars, like extreme attention to detail.
Mm-hmm.
Client they're worse than Grammarly sometimes. They
Yeah.
will be like, okay, you misspelled this, and
Yeah.
it just came out, what the heck, and they'll lose their mind. Um,
Yes.
Focus on the details. I tell my team, I don't care if it takes you 30 tries in reading
Uh-huh.
something, make sure the details are there.
Uh-huh.
Because that translates into tasks. You could
Right.
accidentally book a flight on a Monday instead of a Tuesday. Like,
Uh-huh. Oh gosh.
oh yeah, I have stories. I've definitely not been perfect in my VA journey. And then watch AI, watch
Uh-huh.
new platforms, the new tools that are coming out,
Uh-huh.
because clients love technology.
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
rarely, actually, I don't think I've ever seen anybody that was like, hey, just do this in Google Sheets. No
Yeah.
thanks.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Um, um, so having that understanding, and don't be scared of Chat GPT. Obviously, don't use it for like
Yeah.
emails, but keep it as a tool in your toolbox. Like,
Exactly.
want to
Yes.
make life so much easier.
Uh-huh.
People can read through the BS of Chat
Yeah.
GPT, but it's a very, very helpful tool, especially as you're doing research and you're
Uh-huh.
having it do, automation flows or whatever you're
Right.
doing.
Yeah.
Um, it's also really good for trends, I've found here lately.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I would just say those are the biggest things: attention
Uh-huh.
to detail and being up to date on current technology and AI.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh. So I actually just talked to a potential client yesterday about the use of AI and how we use it with our own agency, especially when you have new people coming in with a niche that you're not very familiar with, or you're trying to learn about, their target audience and, do some market research. It can be so very useful. I use it even with myself and my clients for notes. So like if I do a tutorial video and I do it on Loom, I'll take the transcript and I plug it into ChatGPT and I'll say, please create notes on this video so that they have an opportunity to listen to it and to read along with the notes. It can be useful in so many ways. I completely agree.
I love
When,
it for checklists. Like, I
yes.
live
Oh
and
my gosh.
breathe. I'm married to a pilot, so checklists happen all the time. But if I can sit down and I can just type out, the basics of my checklist, and I want it to
Great.
be more robust and more
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
detailed, I'm like, here are the wickets, build it out for me, and then I'll
Yep.
go in and,
Refine.
refine it and just figure out what works for me or
Uh-huh.
however.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I mean, I use it for meal planning, like
Yes.
plan a monthly menu for my family
Yeah.
and give me the shopping list. Like, that is
Yes.
the easiest possible thing ever. And
Yeah.
I've seen people do that with their clients. Their
Yeah.
clients want that, and then they just Instacart them all the food for 2 weeks for their family.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I'm like, that's something that people need and they
Right.
want.
Right.
And I mean, but they still need you to make sure that it's being directed correctly.
Right.
I went to a AI forum at Art Basel in Miami in December, and AI
Uh-huh.
was everywhere. They
I like
had
that.
so much to say about how, again, it's not taking our jobs, it's actually
Right.
adding to our capabilities. So
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Super interesting because I know when ChatGPT first came out, just, what, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago,
But yeah,
in the
I didn't want anything to do with it. I was
right,
like, just
in the
no.
marketing world, it was like, oh my gosh, it's going to start taking our jobs. We're not going to be able, but truth be told, like you just said, clients still need the human interaction, the human touch, and I'm sure you do it too, but you can read right through the chat GPT. I can 100% tell when a caption is written by chat GPT versus a person. And even if I don't have that industry knowledge. So having that human touch is still very important. One thing that I have a question on, and I'm sure our listeners do too, is what types of skills, because what we teach at Work from Home Milspo is very marketing based. We teach web design and email marketing and things like that, branding. Um, and you mentioned some more like admin type tasks. So what kinds of skills do you think are really important, or what kind of things do your clients usually come in with needing? Is it a lot of admin type stuff, OBM stuff, operational business manager things, or do you have people also in the creative space who are looking for their websites to be updated and landing pages and automations and things like that?
So we have a mixture of both.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times they expect the basic admin, but
Yeah.
then they're like, okay, to level up, I need somebody who knows how to implement Kajabi or something
Mm-hmm.
like, or
Sure.
run a community. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I would say it's a mix
Yeah.
for sure, because a lot of times they'll come in and they'll say, okay, well, I need a C-suite executive assistant. Okay.
Yeah.
So you need a chief of staff, basically.
Yeah.
Um, but then they're like, oh, I found out Marissa does Canva design and she can
Yeah.
web building. Like, this is not my
Yeah.
area. I'm so sorry.
No,
Um,
that's okay.
not my wheelhouse. I am not a creative, but they start understanding the skill set of their assistant and then they build
Mhm.
off.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think one thing we talk about within the work from home Milspo is having a robust understanding of kind of all areas, because in what we teach, a lot of things are connected to each other. So just learning web design is not going to help you level up with your clients, like you said. But having web design and email marketing and being able to attach that to social media and being able to create an SOP for your clients that they're able to follow, let's say a PR, a PR campaign that then goes to social media and goes on your website. Like, how do we do all of these things? Having this robust knowledge and skill set is so valuable. In fact, I just hired my first personal assistant in January, and oh my God, she is like amazing.
I could
She
not live
actually
without
worked
my.
with you before she moved to Japan. She was part of Squared Away. And so I was like,
I
oh
love
my
it.
God. Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, she's so like, I can't even begin to explain to you. She has taken things like she'll be one thing that I find, I guess maybe this could help
Did
our
she
listeners.
come from San Diego? I think I know who it is.
I don't know
If
where
you
she came
do,
from.
which all of our assistants, there's been a few I've cried over when they left, and I
Oh, really?
think I know who you're talking about.
I
But
don't know where she PCSed from. I can ask her, but
she, all of our assistants, I just every time they go to Japan, I'm like, no, I don't want you to
yeah,
leave.
yeah,
They are so amazing, and I mean, I still hear from them. So I mean,
yeah. No, it's she's so awesome. Like she will take something that she takes initiative is what I'm trying to say. Like I don't even have
proactive.
to. Yes, exactly. And for our listeners, if you are looking to like add in some of the admin stuff, what she does for me, being proactive, saying, hey, I saw this email come in. Do you want me to email this person? Do you want me to do this? Or I did this because this is the timeline in which you normally do it. And I don't even have to, oh my gosh, it is so, I told my husband, I was like, it's the best investment I've made in my own business.
My assistant Rachel, she's been with me for about a year and a half, and
Mhm.
some of the things that she has done has just I, I thought I was an okay assistant. This girl is out of this world,
Yeah.
and she's just a great example of the assistants we have at Squared Away. I got to tell you the story because I have just been wanting to put her on a billboard for how amazing she is. But
Oh,
um, my dad had struggled with cancer for the past 2 years, which was part of why we came back to North Carolina.
uh-huh.
And he passed away in November.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Life has been a little chaotic since then,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
um, one of the things that we did was he told me he always wanted to go to New York. And
Uh-huh.
he was first diagnosed with cancer. I took him to New York for 3 days.
Oh,
And
how fun.
we went to this Italian restaurant and he told everybody about this ravioli everywhere, doctor's appointments. He's like, you gotta go to this restaurant in New York and eat this ravioli. It's amazing. He told everybody. Even the doctor who came to his funeral was like, I hope your dad is in heaven getting his
His
ravioli.
ravioli.
And
Oh.
So, my brother and my sister didn't go.
Uh-huh.
So at Christmas, right before the holidays, we took a brother sister trip to New York and we went to
Um,
a restaurant.
yeah.
And Rachel, um, a few months ago, or a few months before my dad died, uh,
Mhm.
he had asked for the wine from that restaurant that he had
Yeah.
had. And when we got to the restaurant, they brought us a glass of that wine and said, Rachel said to pour one out for Poppy. It's
Oh
like,
gosh, it like
oh,
makes me tear up. Like I'm like,
like
oh,
my girl.
yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
But
Yeah.
it was just so thoughtful that
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
nobody ever would have remembered that.
Yeah. Right. But
And
her.
was like, okay, cool, you can never leave me.
Yeah.
But
It is not
it-
allowed.
moments like that are what ingrain you with your clients, even if you do,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, she's definitely, done some things and I'm like, can we fix this for the future?
Yeah.
It's fine. But I'm like, if you have that in you, you're
Yeah.
human. I expect mistakes. It's fine.
Yeah.
So that a little detail goes a long way. I'm
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that so much. That made me like teary-eyed. That's so
sorry.
sweet.
Every time I
No,
think about it, I start like welling up and
no, I'm sure. I'm sure. Yeah, that's so sweet. And I completely agree. I think, as somebody who started off as a virtual assistant and now it has my own, pool of clients and things like that, that is completely true. Having that human aspect with your clients makes that connection of you guys working together because their business is their baby. And so
oh,
you being able to do, have that human aspect with them will not only make them more understanding of you, your situation when things come up unexpectedly, but also just gives a little bit of that um connection, really. I'm trying to think of another word, but really
pizzazz.
it, yes, pizzazz,
It's
like
my
it
new word.
really it really does, and it's so valuable. And one thing that people talk a lot about in being a successful business owner or even a successful leader is just that you have to know how to talk to people or how to interact with people properly. And that is true of being a virtual assistant, even though virtual assistant sometimes gets that the nomenclature makes you feel like not as in a leadership position, but you really are because you are taking somebody's things and taking care of their business in a way that they would if they had the time, but don't. And so, yeah, yeah. So it's, you know, putting yourself up there and saying, okay, I need to interact with this person, as a human, and I think that's so valuable. That's really sweet that she did that. And I'm super impressed. Way to go,
I
Rachel.
I know. Shout out to Rachel. She's gonna like turn purple when she hears this eventually.
I'm going to
Um,
make it a specific clip and put it on social media and be like, in this episode with Squared Away, we talked all about Rachel.
she's gonna be like, I kill over here now.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
but
so
yeah, I mean,
sweet.
it's just, being a human and supporting and taking care of people.
Yeah.
Like I've seen people overcomplicate it previously, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's really not. Like it's a nurturing
It
role.
is. It
Nurture.
is. Yeah. Very much so. Um, okay, one thing I think our listeners and our students especially are curious about are what are things that Squared Away looks for in virtual assistants? And I know one of them is attention to detail.
Yes. Always.
Just from talking to you, but also from, I have a Facebook group of like 15,000 military spouses looking for remote work. So you guys come up quite a bit because people are, and I think you might be in that group,
I
but
am.
yeah,
And we're not a scam if you are listening, I promise.
no, I know. I know. But people will say that the hiring process can be difficult because, or I don't want to say difficult, but you guys are very oriented with attention to detail. So, and I know that's an important aspect of what you guys look for in a VA. But outside of that, you talked about your 4 pillars. Are there any advice you would give to somebody who's applying to your agency to really be paying attention to during that hiring process?
Yeah. I screen every application and I look.
Okay. Wow. That's a lot.
It is a lot. I
Like
we get
most of your days.
I, I'm like, well, I think at this point I've gotten so good at looking at each
Yeah.
thing that
Hmm.
it's like boom, boom, boom. Okay, cool. Next step in the
Hmm.
process
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
um whatever. So extreme attention to detail. Our
Hmm.
application is literally designed to hit on every single one of our pillars.
Hmm.
So we're asking for a cover letter. Please put in a
Yeah.
cover letter. I want to
Yeah.
know who you are. I want to know
Yeah.
if you have 3 feral children. Like, please put it in there. Like,
Yeah.
putting in as a cover letter just drives me bonkers. I'm like, tell me about you. Clients are going to ask you
Who
about you.
you are.
How are
Yeah.
you?
Hmm.
Um, please have a LinkedIn. I don't care if you have one job on there and
Hmm.
it was as a librarian in high
Yeah.
school. Put it on there.
Okay.
Clients, when you say, hey, I want to work for you as an assistant or whatever,
Hmm.
they're
Hmm.
immediately going to go to LinkedIn and they're going to look.
Okay. Interesting. I've never even thought of that. Okay.
Yeah, they do their own due diligence,
Of
100%.
course.
So have a LinkedIn. Make sure you have a professional photo. I have to
Okay.
say that because there's been some interesting ones. Um, And then the tasks. The
Hmm.
tasks are laid out very, very clearly. Take it sentence by sentence.
Okay.
Get it. Make sure that what you are showing is reflecting every single sentence.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
and then please don't use Chat GPT for the last question. I've seen the exact same answer probably 50 times this week.
Oh my gosh. This week. Oh
Yeah, this
my
week,
gosh.
at this point I have like the first 2 lines memorized, I think. And I'm like, y'all gotta get a little bit more creative than this. Um,
I hope this finds you well.
I hope this finds you well. And I would tell the client that it is illegal to transport roses to New York. So that's part of one of our tasks.
Oh my gosh.
Um, and I'm like, okay, but what do you do with it from there?
Yeah.
Like, because clients, like, they ask for the craziest things. Shane asked me one time to plan a party in the south of France where there are a multitude of yachts, and he wanted me to find a dinghy, not even kidding, a dinghy, fill it up with ice and bottles of champagne,
My God.
and have a saxophonist playing on the dock.
Oh my gosh. That's insane.
Thank you. It absolutely is.
That's crazy when you're not even like you literally are on the other side of the world.
I was like, I am 12 hours away from France right now. And I minored in French in college, but I basically lost every bit of it. So
Yeah.
imagine a half pregnant woman at like 5.5 months
Hmm.
screaming at the top of her lungs in broken.
Broken French. And there was no Google Translate back then, right? Like
Oh
there's
my God. So bad. It was so bad. My husband came downstairs. He was like, who are you screaming at? And I was like, this stupid saxophonist in freaking France right now. He can't find the boat and he's 6 feet from Shane right now. It's crazy.
oh
So
my gosh.
it is possible. It is possible to pull it off. And
Mm.
I was like, please don't call me for the next month. I'm detoxed from
I-
you. Um, but that's the kind of thing where if you pull it off, they're like, oh, heck yeah, I can give it to her and she can handle it.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so you got to think outside the box, like figure
Mhm.
out how you're going to make it happen.
Yeah.
I thought I was just going to be like, cool, throwing the white flag. I can't do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you take it piece by piece and
Hmm.
don't let yourself get overwhelmed,
Yeah.
use resources, you can make it happen.
Yeah. That's great advice, taking it piece by piece, not only for your hiring process, but just when you're working with clients, because clients will come with this like word vomit of everything they want. And sometimes it's big, like 3 years down the road, I want to achieve these goals. And sometimes it's next week and it's just a plethora of things. And you're going to be like, oh my God, I don't know where do I even start? But like you
Yeah.
said, you take it piece by piece and eventually you start to see it unwind and you're able to figure it out. So that's really great. And I really appreciate the advice for the hiring process for you guys, because like LinkedIn, I never would have even thought of for newer VAs. For somebody who's established, sure, but for somebody coming in new, that's great advice. And what an untapped resource. I feel like LinkedIn is.
Yeah,
That's a whole nother
it is.
episode.
It's
LinkedIn
the
is like,
sleeping whale when it comes to VA,
yeah,
for
it
sure.
really is. It is such a great place to network. So, okay, great. I'm so happy we were able to sit down for this episode. I think it was going to be so useful for our VAs, for our audience, for our students. I think, when I talk about, who can you work for after you learn these skills? You guys are one of the first people that I talk about. I have team members who have worked for you before. I have team members who have, research working for you in the future. We have students who go to you guys. And I think this is going to be so valuable for everyone. And I'm just so impressed by what you've done over the past 7 years with your agency and for military spouses.
It's been a labor of love, but I love it every single day. And one thing I do want to tell your students too, or anybody who's interested in applying,
Hmm.
just because you don't make the cut the first time, please
Hmm.
reapply. Please.
Yeah.
Because I promise, I had one girl, bless her heart, she applied 16 times.
Oh my
And
gosh. Well,
the,
that is some
I
major,
was like,
like,
oh, but she is persistent. And
yeah.
finally, I was like, we're going to bring you on board. I just want to see, like, this is why we were rejecting you. I'm telling you
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
this is why. And she was like, okay, will never happen again. And now she's one of our best assistants. And I'm like,
Yeah.
please reapply, people. Truly.
Yeah. That's great.
We're
That's
not
good
a
to
one and
know.
done.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. I know a few people who have applied to you guys and, they struggled with the hiring process because it's so detail oriented, but that's really good to know that you guys are watching and looking and recognizing and hopefully, get picked at some point when you are able to complete the tasks at hand. So all great things. Um, Again, Michelle, thank you so much. I really do appreciate this. I think this is going to be so valuable for everybody. And I would like to finish off by you just telling us where we can find you and Squared Away and, follow you on social and all that stuff.
Yeah. So we're at gosquaredaway.com if you're interested in applying /careers. And you can email us with questions at michelle@gosquaredaway.com. And then we are on Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it. Um, we're on X, Go Squared Away, and Away Squared on Instagram.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to share this with everybody. And hopefully we can chat again soon. It would be really fun to have another episode.
I'm
Yeah.
happy to help, and I love what you're doing. And I think
Oh,
it's good.
thanks. I appreciate that so much. All right. Well, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope we gave you some valuable insight into your work from home career as a military spouse. If you haven't already, we hope you join us over at the Work from Home Milspo movement, where you will learn the skills to become a virtual marketing assistant, as well as have the ongoing support of military spouses just like you, live trainings from me, and resources to use for yourself or your clients. Visit us over at the WFHMilspo.com, as well as our virtual assistant agency made just for students, the Aura Agency, and give me a follow on Instagram or TikTok to get more daily tips and information on remote work for military spouses. This is Lauren Lomsdale, the Work from Home Milspo, meeting military spouses where they're at.